Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I will just take you through the spreadsheet and the important setup settings, and then take you through the app once the data is uploaded. You will be able to download this Excel file with our column headings, and you will also notice that it's drop downs. All of the selections that are available in the app are drop downs to make this really easy to complete, and also to avoid any errors when you upload the file. You just need to complete your client's information then. You can do this in stages. So if you want to upload a few just to test the app, you can then do an additional upload later on for the rest of your clients. The important setup in the tips and formats section, you will see two orange columns, one for rate group and one for accountant. And the accountant is your staff members that you will assign to individual clients, and you can add their names here as you've invited them into Data Grows. If you add their names here, they will become drop downs for selection where you can assign them to individual clients. So it's also a quick and easy way to assign your staff. And the rate group selection is important because we have reports to allow you to view real-time billing information based on the time logged for a particular client. So I'll take you through that setup now. So the various columns, there are quite a few that are important in order for your tasks to schedule correctly, such as registration dates and year end, because you'll know that, for example, the SIPC annual returns are scheduled around the registration date, and then all of the SARS tax returns are scheduled around the year end of your client. So make sure that you complete that correctly. You can complete contact information, and we have various automated emails that can be sent from the app directly to your clients, such as reminding them to send bank statements or a reminder of the coming provisional tax deadline at the end of August. So if you complete that information, we can send those emails. You can then capture their statutory registration numbers, and then, as I said, assign your staff to various clients. And what's important to note here is that the accountant column, this is the all-rounder, the person that would do all the tasks that we account for, that we allow for. And then you can customize more specific departments if your firm is set up that way. So if Jane, for example, is the main person responsible for a client, but Sue does the accounting and the tax, you can then assign more specific roles to individual staff. So it will first assign to the accountant unless a role in these four columns has been specified, then it will assign it to that person. Okay. And then the partner or manager column is something that pulls through to every task as well, so that the person overseeing that staff member can also be reminded of the task. And this week we are currently splitting this column in two to have a partner and manager column, so that you can actually assign the, let's say, owner of the firm or co-partner, as well as an additional manager who needs to oversee that task. And then these are the tasks that we do schedule. So we have accounting, and you have various options to choose from depending on how you process the books, as well as you can specify the start month for that client. So if it's biannually, I would recommend that the start month be the first month of their financial year. And then you can specify a due date as it applies to each individual client. If you don't specify due dates, it will default to the 15th of the month. You can then schedule for that. and make sure that you select the correct registration type that they've been given by SARS. You can schedule payroll tasks, EMP 201, 501, income tax, provisional tax, and turnover tax, as well as UIF and workman's comp. Just to note here, the UIF schedule is specifically for clients that you need to declare on you filing directly. So not pay as you earn registered companies where you would declare it on e-filing. But if you need to declare it on e-filing and make a payment, you can schedule for that. And then there is a text column for financials to make note of the last financial year that was submitted for this client. And then whether or not you've created a documents folder on your server, and you can schedule the annual return. Then you can make notes of the accounting program that they use. So there's various options to choose from there. You can also be reminded of management reports. If management reports need to be prepared every month, this will pull through to the monthly accounting task. And then we have the bank statements column. This is also a drop down, and the reason for this column is so that you can make use of the automated email to email clients at a specified period to send the bank statements for the previous month. So on the 1st of August, for example, you would have requested the bank statements for July. You can use the app to send an automated email. If the bank statement record and column says request statement in their accounting task, you can then run the process, which I'll show you, and it will email all the clients to request bank statements directly to them and for the month that has passed. So they'll not receive an email to send August bank statements because the month has not ended. But on the 1st of September, you could request for August. You can then safely store logins here, as well as banking information and addresses and directed details. And then you can make notes whether or not they're on a retainer. This is a text column, so whatever you want to put there, you can give them a rating. So things like how complex they are, how important they are, that's up to you. You can then make notes of who referred the clients, as well as use an internal client code if you choose. Okay, so this is the upload spreadsheet. And as I said, if there's any queries, we do assist you to upload your data, to clean it up. You can just send an email to support@mydatagrows.com and we will assist you with this step. Okay. One thing to note, it is an XLSX file, in other words, a normal Excel document, not a CSV as you would be used to importing into other systems. And the reason for that is so that your ID numbers and your cell phone numbers do not drop the zero or the or convert to scientific numbers when you close and reopen the file. So we import the XLSX to protect that sort of formatting that you have inserted. So just a little tip on a cell phone number. If you put an apostrophe before the zero, it will not drop the zero. Okay. So once you're happy and you've completed this, you can close the file. And then inside the app, there are various tables to navigate through. You'll see when you log in for the first time that they're all contracted like that. You can just expand a table by clicking on it. But the setup section is the most important first step to make sure that everything is going to run in the way that it's intended. So if you come to setup and you come to accountant, you will see that you can invite your users here. So your name will be there and it will be ticked as admin. To invite your staff, just click on add record. Give them a name. You can do first name or full name. That's up to you. complete their email address, and then you need to assign a role to them. So we recommend only one admin per database. And the reason for that is because an admin can delete a client record. And when you delete a client, all the tasks and historical tasks associated with that client are removed as well, because the system doesn't know how to map it anymore. And that's why we say limit this to one person so that you don't accidentally delete clients. And then we have the partner role, which has all the access that the admin does, except for deleting clients. Okay. And then we have the bookkeeper role, which is your all-rounder. Like I said, the person that will see and be responsible for all of the tasks for a particular client. And they can then see all of the tables down left here. We have an assistant role, which in this app is a free of charge user, meaning that it will not, you will not incur a license fee to add an assistant. And this person can access the clients table as well as the ad hoc tasks table in order to track admin tasks that they might be responsible for. And they can then help you maintain client records. So this would typically be for somebody like a receptionist or personal assistant. If you want to add them to the app, you can. And then we have the custom role. And this is if you have a larger firm with separate departments where people are responsible for certain tasks related to that department, you can customize the tables that they can see to then not overwhelm them with all the many tables that there are. So if you select custom, make sure that you then assign the correct roles to them. And you can then, like I said, customize how they use the app. Okay. And then we have the filter on earned data checkbox here, that if your staff only work on the clients that are assigned to them strictly, and they don't help each other out when somebody, let's say, for example, takes leave or is sick, you can then select filter on earned data so that even the tables that they can access are filtered to where they are assigned to a task. So again, minimizing the amount of data that they see so that they're not overwhelmed by large tables. So you can use that. Okay, and then you would click save and they will receive an invite to log into the app. We then have the firm settings table, and you'll see a record that looks like this. Just click on this line that says my firm, and you can just expand any table record window by clicking on this arrow bar over there. Excuse me. And then just complete your firm information, and you can store practitioner details here as well for quick reference. And then the system settings here, the time rounding is important. If you do keep time in order to do your billing and you round it, you need to please specify how you round so that the time log reports can accurately round it for you. You don't need to do it manually. So if you don't round, you can leave that blank. Otherwise, just make that selection there. And then you can store your accounting system information here. We are currently working on our integration to stage 1, and we'll be moving to 0 next. So if you store your information here, when we go live, you'll already be ready to utilize that integration. And then you can specify whether or not you're VAT registered, your invoice payment terms, the date of your invoice, and how you invoice. And again, this is all to integrate to the systems, and we will keep you updated on that progress. And then we have some SaaS details here, and this will be your firm logins over here. And the reason for this field is we are currently testing our integration into e-filing, firstly for provisional tax returns. And so once that is live, we will explain to you the process of getting the key that we need in order to integrate the app into e-filing. So that's a very exciting development, and we will update you as soon as that is live. Okay. Then I spoke about the rate groups in Excel spreadsheets. And basically what this is how you bill your clients. So your billing structure with regards to various clients. So we realize that not every single client might be billed the exact same rate. And depending on their setup and how you've quoted them, you can create rate groups so that you can assign that to a specific client. And this is so that our reports know what amount to apply to time worked for the billing report, which I will show you as well. So we do populate this example for you just so that you can see what we mean by it. You can click on any of them and rename them and change the note, or you can delete them and start from scratch as it applies to your firm. Okay. And then you will see that we then have a rates table also pre-populated just to make your life a little bit easier. But basically for every rate group that you create, so you'll notice mine from the previous table, every rate group, you need to assign a task as well as that rate so that when the task is timed by a staff member, the rate group with the correct rate can be applied to that client for that task. So we've created these examples. These are all the drop downs available that we time for. And again, you can edit any of them by selecting from the task. You can change the amount. You can specify the rate type. So whether it's based on hours worked or minutes worked, or if it's a fixed rate. So in other words, the duration doesn't affect the amount that you bill. But you can specify that. You can give an invoice description if it differs from the task name, and then obviously assign it to the rate group. Okay. You can also mark things as billable or not. So things like annual leave that we track for power failures, those kinds of things, that would not be billable time necessarily. So you can set this up. I found the easiest way to update this to my firm was to download the file by coming to these three little dots next to the table heading. So you can download it. This type of file is a CSV file because it's outside of the normal data upload. But you can then update it, sort, and filter. It might just be a little bit quicker than working in the actual table. And then once you're happy with this file, save it as a CSV. And then over here, again, you just click upload and then select that file. Okay. So you can do that just to update the rates that you charge as they apply to you. Okay, so those are the most important setup steps. And once you've done that, the rest is really easy. So now I'm going to show you the data upload of our clients table. And you'll see when you come to this table for the first time, there will be no record there. And so simply click on Add Record. Okay, click on Save and Edit so that a sub-tab at the top here for documents appears. See? So then click on Document, click on the little plus there, and select your Excel file that you worked on. You can click Save, and then come back to Details and click Save. And you'll see as soon as I do that the status will change to processed once it has run through the data. So that takes a couple of seconds depending on the size of your data. you can just refresh the table by clicking there. Oh my goodness. There we go. And then you'll see that the process by system has completed the current date and time. And then a note will tell you how many records it has updated or inserted, sorry. And you can then just make sure that that number agrees to the file that you imported. So it was 42 clients because of the heading. And then in the client table, that is where you will find the data that you've just uploaded, and just make sure that the number of records here at the bottom agrees to your Excel file, just to make sure that the upload was successful. But once your upload has run and this table is populated, okay, there you can see all of the tasks that we have scheduled. Okay, the tasks schedule immediately. So if you look at accounting, you will now see all of the tasks scheduled for these clients, depending on the accounting type. If it's monthly, you're going to see 2 tasks, one for the previous month being the end of July, as well as one for the current month being August, simply because we don't always work on historic accounting. Sometimes we have to do things in the current month. So you're able to make notes and track through the task accordingly. Okay. So let me start at the top. The all tasks due table is a dashboard of the tasks that are coming up. So you'll see the due dates there per accountant assigned to them. And you'll see that it is color coded, red being that the deadline has passed. So you'll see all these dates are in the past. Yellow being that they are due within the next 7 days. And then the white are coming up after that. So this will constantly update. But this is a live dashboard of all the tasks that are outstanding in the app. And you can click on these blue numbers to go and see what Jane has missed as a deadline on the 30th of April for the compensation fund return of earnings. And so click on the 3. It will take you to that table. It will filter on Jane for that due date, and you can see the names of the clients that she has not yet completed. And then you can discuss it with her for whatever reason they were not submitted. Your staff will also be able to access this for themselves as well as a reminder. So in any table, you will see 3 little dots next to each column heading, and this allows you to sort on any column. Okay, you can sort by A to Z or Z to A, and you can also filter. So if you use contains, for example, it's the easiest way, and you click OK, you can sort on one person and then look at all of David's tasks that he has assigned to him. And when you filter, the filter is sticky. In other words, if you navigate to another table, it does not undo what you've looked at. So it's really nice if you are focusing on something, you don't have to keep redoing the filters, but that does mean that you need to clear the filter if you want to expand your search. Okay, so now you can see the other accountants are there again. This is a really nice way to see everything that's coming up with due dates for each staff member. And this report is sent as a weekly email in Excel, but it's also available under the reports section, and it's called your to-do list for the next 30 days. So this report is a 30-day snapshot, whereas the all tasks due table is literally all the tasks due. And so if you click on that report little arrow there, it will take you to the report, and you can then navigate through the pages to look at each individual staff member. And then there's also a due detail per account and per task showing you the actual clients. And here you can download this to Excel or PDF, however you need to use the report. Okay. So there are other reports here as well. We have the time to invoice, which I'll show you in another database where we have some time logged. We have the firm summary report, and this shows you a general idea of how many clients you have per entity type, as well as the rate groups that they belong to. So you can see here graphically as well how many entities you have, and then also the rate group spread. So if you're looking at high income earners, you obviously want to maximize your rate group for that section. So this just helps for firm planning. And then, so yeah, the time log and accountant times, I will show you those reports in a database where we have logged some time. So if you click on time to invoice, you can specify the date range that your staff have worked. So if you're doing billing, let's say for July, you can select the status of the time, which I'll show you how you change that, but you can select that. And if you view the report, it's going to give you per client, per task, a subtotal of the time worked in the month. It's going to specify for you the rate that that client belongs to, as well as the rate type, and then the rate group. And then this is basically live billing information. So you can see for the month of July, the total hours worked was 18.99. The rounded time is 24 because this firm rounds to the hour. And then you can see the value of the time that was worked. But the notes for the tasks also pull through, which I'll show you. But it's really a nice way to see your billing in real time if your staff use the time log function. And if you come to the second page here, you'll see detail per staff member, how they have worked and which clients they focused on. So you can monitor productivity as well. You can see Mariska here hardly achieved anything last month. But if you view these reports weekly, it's also a really nice way to take up issues with your staff before you need to bill. So if anything is looking unreasonable here, you can discuss it with them while it's fresh in their minds, and before you're under pressure to do your invoicing. Okay, so just to show you how the time arises, you'll see if you come to a task table, let me pick one that's populated. So if we're working on accounting and we're working on this client over here, you'll see once you open the record, the timer turns blue. And so click on the start button and it will begin timing. It will show you the client that you're working on and in brackets the task that the timer is running on. And you can navigate to other tables. It will carry on timing. You can be signed out of the app. That timeout is 2 hours. You can switch off your laptop. You can lose power. You can lose internet. The timer will not stop. So there's no risk of you ever losing any time due to another circumstance other than pushing the stop button. So the risk there is that you could forget to push the stop button, which I often do on a Friday afternoon. And then on a Monday morning, my timer has been running for 72 hours. So if that is the case, that is also why I recommend reviewing your time weekly, and your staff daily. So once they've finished a day, just to review that everything looks reasonable. And all of the time that is logged can be accessed in the time log table. And this is a real-time update. So Again, no delay in reviewing time, in having to capture time and posting time. If they use that start stop function, it exists immediately and everyone can review it immediately. So you'll see here, if this one had run over 3 days, so let's just say you come in and realize that the duration for 48 hours is obviously unrealistic, you can just simply click on the record and edit the time to what you believe the correct end time was. Oops. Just stick to the formats that we give you. Need a space, sorry. And then you can amend the record and bill the client correctly. Okay, so you'll see that. You'll also see, if I make a note in this table, so each task table has a notes column, but if I make a note here and say whatever was applicable to that client, and if I time on that, the note should pull through to the time log as well. So I encourage people to use that note column to assist in billing queries and, well, basically any queries for that client, so that if the time is above the retainer or the agreed amount of time, the note should then help you in terms of your billing queries. Okay, so it's really user friendly. And then I showed you in the report, we have these statuses for time, and these are automatically run, if you choose, by using a process called generate invoice, but there's also a time authorized time table. So we realize that your staff are going to log time as they go about their business, and you need to actually review the time and prepare it for billing. So if you use the time authorized table, admins and partners should see this table. You can then select the time that you are working with and looking at. Let me just see that macro. Oh yeah, okay. Bad example. Let me just check this one. Okay, sorry, that database has gone a bit squiff there. But you'll see in the time authorized, let's say these ones without clients. Obviously, I can't bill someone if I don't know who the time was worked on. And if it's an internal task, you can tick them. And then under select action, you can mark them as internal. If you run that, it will archive the time immediately, and it will change their statuses to internal. Okay. You can also mark time as already invoiced. So let's say, for example, you invoiced this client in advance before time was logged. You can mark it as invoiced so that it's then outside of billing that still needs to happen. And then the rest that remains, if you're happy with it, you can mark it as invoice pending. And that is going to move it to the time invoice pending table. Okay, so you'll see that's gone. And now it is sitting under time invoice pending. And here you can then view the reports accordingly. So let me just select August. So this would then be what your billing would be in your accounting system. So you've gone through the approval process and now you can check your time. And if you choose, you can still mark it as invoiced, in other words, archive it once you've done this manually. But we also have an invoice table in the app. So you'll see where we've run the invoice process successfully against the clients. There's a whole bunch of information here. And when we integrate into your accounting system, this table will generate directly to Sage or to Xero, and your billing can be done accordingly. So, but you can also view them here in real time. If you come to the process under the setup section, you will see there is a generate invoices process, and it does explain to you in the description what it does. And if you change the action to process, all the time in the time invoice pending, where it belongs to a client and is assigned to a rate group, it will run and create an invoice according to the firm settings that you created. So you'll see most of the time has been done, and where a rate group is not assigned to a client, the status is now changed to rate group missing. And so you can go amend those clients and rerun the process. Now you'll see in the invoice table, we have all of these invoices dated the 31st of July with their values. Okay. So the time log function is really useful for real-time billing information and being able to monitor that in real time. Okay. All right, let me take you through some of the task tables. This first table, the firm and ad hoc tasks, you will find that nothing has scheduled. And the reason for that is these are general administrative tasks that don't have a set recurrence. So, I mean, things like sick leave, annual leave, you can track here, emails, filing and admin, billing, etc. So you can select the task as it applies and then assign it to a client if it is applicable. So if it's an internal task, you won't assign it to a client. You can then give it a status, and every single task table has a status column, and that is to then archive the table. So the task, sorry, every table has an archive table, and when you change a task status to completed, it moves it from the current table to the archive table. So you don't have to delete a task to complete it. If you change the status to completed, it will archive. And you can then give a due date if it is applicable. And you'll see if I save the task, it appears in the table. And then I can now time on it. Okay. And if I am done with my task and I change it to completed, it will move to the archive table. Okay. And if you do this accidentally, so in other words, if you meant to select in progress, you can just change it to anything other than completed and it will pop back to the current task. So maybe you need to redo a task, or if for whatever reason it has to come back, you can just change the status and it will unarchive it. Okay. We then have the specialized tasks table, which is a really, really neat table. You will see that it looks very empty. And the reason for that is there is a scheduler under the setup section that you actually need to utilize in order to see anything in the task table. And the reason for that is we've accounted for a lot of tasks here. We've got accounting, we've got VAT, we've got SIPC, we have financials, various payroll and tax tasks. But this specialized scheduler allows you to name a task, whatever you like, and whatever you need to remember for a client, with an automated schedule and due date. And this would typically be reminders for clients who are non-typical clients. So let's say, for example, you have to pay the staff of your client. So you physically log into their bank and load their salaries. Now, that's not something we would do for all of our clients where we do the payroll. And so you can create a specialized task here to be reminded of that. And so you can name it whatever you like. You can say a description of it and step by step. So also, if you're aware of a process and somebody else needs to remember it, you can create it on their behalf, but all of your staff have access to this. This is like the internal calendar for various things that need to happen in the app. Okay. You can then assign it to a client, and then you can give it a schedule and a due date. And what this does is you're going to schedule it once, and then at every occurrence that you specify, it's going to just schedule a new task. So you'll see options here like the 10th. So that would be the 10th of every month, the 15th, the first Friday of the month, the first of the month, or the next working day, 20th, etc., etc. And then there are also options here for every work day. So if it's every Friday, every Monday, etc., or every single working day. So there are various ways to schedule this. So if we're thinking of a payroll task, I would want to schedule it by the 20th with the due date of the 25th, and it will work according to working days. So a reminder on a weekend is useless. So if this one should schedule on the 20th, it will schedule on the 19th. Okay. And then the department selection here helps tie this very unique task back to your rates, because obviously you can name it something so unique, and we then need to know, the timer needs to know how to apply your rate group to the work that's being done. You can then assign it to an accountant and a partner if you choose. And then when you click save, you will see them all in the scheduler. And then the very first task is going to populate for you to see it in the specialized tasks. So this table can easily get very cluttered. And so here you're going to rely on your filters. So if you've created a whole bunch of reminders for BDC, so things like they have a call account, remember to reconcile it. They have a 90-day account with a supplier that never balances, or they have a monthly depreciation asset register that needs to be updated. Things like that we tend to forget when we have so many clients. You will create these tasks. Now, like I said, when eventually this table becomes really busy, you want to be able to filter on a client that you're working on so that it's isolated to the tasks that you're busy with. You can then also do it per department. So if you're currently busy with the accounting and not the payroll, you can filter and then have a better view of what you are working through. And you will then simply, once you've completed this, you can archive it and say paid, for example, and it will be available in the archive table. And then on the 20th of September, yeah, it's a work day, the next task will schedule and you can be reminded of that. So it's a really, really neat way to do it if you understand how to set it up. Okay. We then have the accounting table, and this is going to populate according to the accounting type that you select for your client. And the reminder for the bank statements pulls through here. So as I said, there is an automated email in the app if you choose to use it, where all your clients that say request statement and you have not marked the statements as received by ticking it, okay? If you run the process under setup called please send bank statements, okay? If you change that action to process and click save, you will see that it populates with a last run date. Let me just show you one that has, okay, we haven't run them yet. So you'll see that the last run date does show, and you can schedule it. So for me, it would be really useful if I don't even need to run the action. Okay. If you select a schedule here, our app knows on the 1st of the month to go and email all those clients. So you don't even have to remember. And then the email is great. I want to show you an example. It addresses the primary contact in your client table and requests the bank statements for the company that they are assigned to for the period that has ended, that exists in the accounting table. So, like I said, we're not going to email anyone for August bank statements until August has ended, but any tasks that have July or older. So if you're still waiting, if you've requested May bank statements and this guy has not responded, he will get an email. And you'll see here that the accountant assigned to that client will be copied in the mail, and it will respond and reply as the accountant assigned. And if the client then clicks reply, it will reply to that person. So it's really nicely set up. They can then just directly reply on the email and attach the bank statements, and the accountant who needed them will receive them. Okay, so it's a really neat feature. And then you can track through the basics of accounting here, as well as the management reports. So you'll see here you're reminded of the management reports, and you can then indicate that the manager or partner must please review them if they are busy reviewing them and if they have reviewed them. Okay. Again, anything that we don't mention as a column to track through here, you can create as a specialized task for that particular client. We then have the VAT returns, and this is going to populate according to the VAT type of the client, whether they're monthly, odd, or even. And you will notice if you upload your data now in August that you are not going to see any even vendors because their due date is only in September. And so don't think that the upload was unsuccessful. On the 1st of September, the record will populate, and then you can track through that. So we don't go too far ahead with VAT returns because you can't actually complete the return until September. And you can then track through the task over there. Under CRPC, we have the annual returns table, and this is going to populate according to the registration date. And we default the due dates to the 1st of that applicable month that they were registered in, just to give you enough time to bill your client in advance of that annual return fee, and for planning purposes to make sure that funds are available in your account. And this one we do schedule quite ahead, quite far in advance, again, to allow you to plan for that fee. And we'll be adding this week a column for the turnover, and we've also pulled through the registration number. So everything you need to complete an annual return will be in one window, and you can simply submit it to CRPC. We then have the CIPC tasks table, and this, like the ad hoc tasks, is an empty table when you first log in. And the reason for that is it is a manual and again ad hoc situation. So if you click on add record, you'll see these are the kinds of tasks that don't occur monthly. They're usually like once-offs, and you can then select from there. What makes this table really special is if you click on company registration, for example, create the clients with their proposed name, just so that you can track on it and bill them. But you could also leave it blank for now and just make the note there, but it makes it more difficult to then bill them later on. You can give it a status. You can assign it to staff. And then these details here below, this is for when you've actually emailed Subsea. So to begin with, you're going to complete the top information, click Save and Edit, and you'll see a subtask tab becomes available. And here I've actually listed the subtasks necessary to complete this task with Subsea. So you don't need to remember what is necessary, but the whole process is listed here. And then so the whole process is listed so that you can email them the correct information and complete this correctly. And then you can make notes. So things like the selected year-end number of authorized shares, as you're discussing it with the client, you can note it here. And then where available, there are templates that you can download and make use of if you want. So the mandate, for example, will download a blank Word document that you can then just complete. And there's also a share certificate template, but this will be replaced shortly with a new feature that we've developed, where once a company is registered and you have all the shareholder information, we are working on a share register table where you can assign it to the company, list the shareholders, the type of shares. It will automatically generate a certificate number as well as calculate the shareholding percentage based on the total number of shares. And you can also see them here and it will recalculate. And if you click there, a pre-populated share certificate generates for you. So we're really excited about this new feature, and we will send out an update once it is live. But this is going to save a lot of time on that particular process. Okay, so the subtask for the registration, once you've gathered all the stuff and you've lodged it with Subsea. So before you email them, and in the website you say, lodge this request, you need to let us know that date that has occurred, because if you click save, a due date 10 calendar days from now is going to automatically calculate so that you don't miss that 10-day window in which to respond and have to do it all over again. Okay. And tomorrow the day counter will start at 1 to actually count in calendar days so that you can keep an eye on that. And if you're still waiting for something, once you've lodged it, you can keep an eye on this and then not have to repeat the process because we're counting that due date for you. Okay, so it's really a nice feature. And for each of these tasks, there are subtasks listed with exactly what you need to complete it with Subsea. Okay. We then have the financials and income tax table, which is going to populate according to the year end of your Subsea registered entity and the applicable SARS due date. And you can then track through quite a few processes in the financials, and you can specify the engagement type that applies. And for bigger engagements, you can assign more than one person to this audit, let's say. So usually that's, a group of 2 to 5 to even 10 people, depending on the size of the client. And so you can assign them for planning purposes. If you come to financials team and you click add record, you can assign multiple people to this client so that their all tasks due updates with this record with the due date. Okay, so for planning purposes, for leave purposes, you can assign multiple people to a financials task as you perform that audit. And then you can track through the income tax return to SARS for companies here, and really keep track of that. Okay. We then have the compensation fund return of earnings. So this due date's obviously done. None of these were completed on time. So you can just make sure that that is done. And then next year, the April deadline will schedule. We have the monthly EMP 201s. You'll see that the August payroll is coming up due the 7th of September. And these due dates, by the way, will also default to working days. So if the 7th falls on a Saturday or Sunday, it will be the 5th. So this previous month that passed, the due date would have been the 5th of the month, so that you don't miss and incur penalties because of that. Okay. We have the EMP 501 recon coming up in October that you can track through. We have the payroll tasks, and this will populate according to the various cycles that you select for clients. So if they have monthly and bi-weekly, if they have weekly wages, etc., you can track through that. And then we have the U-filing task that I mentioned, specifically for declarations and paying on U-filing. We have the income tax individuals table, which we're all currently working through. You'll see that the due date corresponds to the SARS due date. If they extend it, we will update that for you. And you can then track through quite a few scenarios for individuals. And what's really nice is this one, for example, individual tax can be quite varying every year, but any record in the app, so whether it's the client record, whether it's a monthly record, you can share a link directly to this record, but they can't navigate anywhere else in the app. So let's say, for example, we want to do Andrew's tax, and we want to share this record with him so that he can indicate what applies to him. So if he had a directive, if he had annuity income, capital gains, etc., you want him to basically indicate to you what you need. You can share this record. If you click on the little share button there, you can copy the link and you can send that in an email. And this link is valid for 72 hours only, just to protect your records from future access. So Andrew will have 72 hours to access this. You can see he can't navigate anywhere else outside of this page, but he can save the fields that you request him to save. So let's say, for example, he's a rental income, he contributed to retirement annuity, he had a travel allowance, interest income, medical aid, and then an RP5. If he saves this, you'll see that it ticks it to show that it's been saved. And then if you simply refresh your table, the tick marks that he applied automatically pull through to your side. So it's really a neat way to correlate with your clients. And we will look at adding a documents tab for them to even upload their documents straight through to the record. So look out for that. But similarly, if you want them to update their client information, so make it their job, if you click on that share record over there and they access the link, they can then update their information if they changed the details, And if you're discussing something with a new client, for example, and you're not sure what their setup is, what they're registered for, etc., you could ask them to actually select from these fields as well to then basically indicate to you what you need to quote them. So it's a really nice way to correlate information. And again, if they save their changes here, but you'll see then if you refresh, that the changes they've made have pulled through. So that is a nice way to work with your clients in the app. We then have the provisional tax returns, which we're all frantically working towards. So thank you all for joining us during this busy time. But you can track through that. And this is going to be the first return that we integrate to SARS. So we're very excited that it works. We just need them to approve it now. So we will keep you updated. It's not going to be ready for the August submission, but definitely the February one. So it's a really exciting time. And then we come to the SARS tasks table, which, like the SIPC tasks, is going to be empty. And so you add record and you can select from various SARS submissions that need to be completed. So everyone's favorite is the update public officer. You can then create that, assign it, etc., give an internal due date if it needs to be completed. And if you click save and edit, the subtask with the list of documentation that needs to be completed is populated for you, so you don't have to remember. We've also given various SARS form templates. So the proof of residence form, if you need to complete that, a blank one will download. We have resolutions here for you to use. The letter that they need to take a selfie with, as well as the link to actually upload these documents electronically to SARS. So you're welcome to use that. And as I said, there are various tasks. There's over 20 here to choose from. If there's one that's not on the list that you need us to create, please just send us the name of the task, and if you can, the steps. I don't mind researching that for you, but then just give me the name that SARS refers to it as, and we will create the task for you to track it. Okay. Now, just like SIPC, once you have actually uploaded your documents, either in the online link or to e-filing, so let's say it's a VAT verification that you need to track through. If you save the dates here under uploaded, our due date is going to count in 21 working days for when SARS should respond, and the day counter here counts in working days. So it's a really nice tool to keep track of SARS and their lack of response, so that you can then keep track. So if it's a VAT refund verification, for example, you know exactly when you can call to escalate if you have not received that refund as yet. You can also make notes of your SARS appointment date and your case number. So everything that you need to track for these tasks is there. We then cater for turnover tax, the various submissions with their due dates, and you can then schedule and keep track of those, make notes of your appointment dates. Okay. And so that is all of the tasks that we provide for. And again, if there's anything that we don't mention as a main task, you can create whatever you need to remember. You can create under the specialized tasks for your clients. Okay. Lastly, two things that I want to show you is the services not used dashboard. And this is just a little for free information from us that goes according to the entity type of your clients and what we have assumed should be offered to them as a service. So if this is a PTY limited, we are asking you to offer them to submit their annual return because you've not selected it in the client's table. So here the tick boxes are switched around. So where it's ticked, we're suggesting you offer it to your client. The same with provisional tax. So you'll see here for this closed corporation, you've not offered them income tax, you've not offered them any payroll services, and you've not offered to do their provisional tax, or you've simply not set up your client correctly. So this is like a catch-all for any services you might be performing for a client and you just haven't scheduled it in the app. And to correct that, you click on the client name. It will take you to their client's table, and you can simply schedule the task if you've now offered it or if you already do perform it. You will see then as you correct them, the client will then change to a cross. So if you did provisional tax as well, then BDC will not be in this layout here anymore. Okay, so like I said, this is a way for you to increase the scope of your work or correct your clients' tables if you've not switched on the correct tasks for them. Okay, and then lastly, I know I've said a mouthful in this short time, but if there's anything that you need assistance with, if anything doesn't view the way you expect it to, you can click on the help icon here and complete this form, and it will email support, and we are very quick to respond. So you can send a support request there. And we also have a ton of resources. So if you click on the resources tab there, these are all the blog posts that explain the different sections and how to set them up. So there's really a lot of information over here that you can read through section by section. There are some videos as well. And you can then also chat directly with us in this section too. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you need any assistance. Our support team is really good, and we'll ensure that the app works in the best way possible for you.